Nerds, it's your boy Neebs, aka Watch with Neebs, and I'm here with my co-host Jeff, aka DJ King of the Pirates.
King of the Pirates, yes.
Oh man, Jazz, welcome back. We haven't had you on the show for like a week and a half, bro.
It's been a while, yeah.
We
Had some
missed
things
you. We
happen.
missed you, man. A lot of people in the comments left a lot of good vibes for you, bro. A lot of good vibes. People were
I
missing you.
appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. But I'm back now, so yay.
Yeah, Jazz is back, and what an episode to be back. So, for those of you that don't know, Jazz is a huge One Piece fan. He's been trying to get me to watch it for since I've met him. He's been trying to get me to watch this, and I finally started watching it when I found out the live action show was coming out. So I was like, all right, let me watch this a little bit, and it took a little convincing. It took a while, but I finally did it. And now here we are covering One Piece live action. Who would have thought we'd have make it here, Jazz? Who would have
I
thought?
never thought we'd be here, but here we are.
I know, I know. And look, we have to introduce our guest. You might have remember him from our episode where we did about our trip to Pakistan. He's our own little straw hat packy, Skeeb.
Oh, I forgot my straw hat, or else I would have brought it for the show. But hey,
Uh,
guys, really excited to be on
yeah.
the show, and long time One Piece fans. Even from the days of when 4Kids TV would be there, and you had to wake up
Oh
at
God.
like 6 o'clock in the morning, put the VHS to record it. Those are the days.
Damn, those were over the days, I
We
bet.
don't talk
Yeah.
about the 4 Kids version.
Oh,
Those
really? Why is that? What's up with the 4 Kids version?
Just no. Just no.
they
Okay,
they
all
just
right.
censored a lot of the things and cropped out a lot of the main details of the storylines.
Oh, interesting, interesting. All right, cool. One of the things that I want to talk about, because like, Skib, I went to Japan with you,
Yes, you
and
did.
I really, really wish that I had actually started watching One Piece earlier because you got to check out all this cool like anime stuff and all these cool things that you got to do, and I feel like I really didn't get to appreciate it because I never really watched One Piece.
Well, it looks like we have to take another trip to Japan soon then, once you're
Yeah.
up. Well, the exciting thing about Japan is that they actually do a lot when it comes to their anime. It kind of
Hmm.
revolves around their society. A lot of people, if you saw them on the trains, they would be reading manga. A lot of their art and advertisement is based off of anime characters. So it's really involved in the community there. And they have the One Piece museum at Tokyo Tower. And when I was there, it was phenomenal. It was just breathtaking, and all the sets and the pieces were beautifully done.
Nice. Did you eat the gum fruit?
We actually went to the cafe and the restaurant there. They would have somewhat related to the characters. They would have like a Sanji item, a Brook item, a Frankie item, a Luffy burger. So it was really cool. And I wish I could just eat everything, but some of it had pork and gelatin, so you kind of
Oh
have to
yeah.
stay away from that. But regardless, I think it was a really cool concept.
That's cool, man. So I started watching this show, and a lot of this show kind of reminded me of you, Ski, to be honest. I feel like you're very much of a Luffy type because you're always getting people to go on these adventures with you. If it's like the trip to Japan or the trip to Pakistan, I feel like you're our like little like a faithful leader, kind of just leading us into this stuff, and maybe a little naive at times. Maybe not have all the information. Kind of like the time you went to Japan and you almost missed our flight because you had to drive to all the way to Indiana, then to Cali, and then to Japan, and almost missed our flight. So I do feel like you're kind of like Luffy in that sense, where you don't have the best like set of like organizational skills, but you're also someone who has like really good faith in people, and you bring people together, and you really make people feel like a team on a trip. Because when I went to Pakistan, I definitely kind of felt that way when I started watching the show. Even our trip to Pakistan had like 3 women, which was like, right. We had a freaking we had a Nami, we
We
had
had a
a
Robin.
Robin, and
We
we
had
had
a
a
Chopper.
princess, the princess from Alabama, whatever her name was. Like,
Vivi, Vivi.
yeah, yeah. We had a doctor.
Yeah,
we, we had the entire Straw Hat crew on that show, on that
yeah, man.
on that bus. That bus
Uh,
was our going merry,
yes, it was. Ah.
which I thought was really funny. Man,
Wow.
right? It
Yeah.
Quite
definitely.
literally, y'all are the Straw Hats. I love it.
We were the Straw Hat Packies. Like that's what we were.
Oh, that's one of our new names. But I really appreciate the kind words, Aneve. And yes, I do kind of immaculate a lot of my characteristics and the personality based off of Luffy. Because I think Ichi Oda did a really good job creating a character like this that shows you that you could follow your dreams, you could live the life that you want to live without anybody telling you no. And then you could, surround yourself with amazing people and go on amazing adventures with.
That's really cool. It's really cool to see someone take something from a show and turn it into reality. I think that's really, really cool. It's better than, hoping your parents get killed and become a millionaire and become Batman. That's something that's probably not going to happen to most people, but
Definitely not.
still.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no,
Definitely
Jazz
not.
and I also have this WhatsApp group where we call it the Monster Trio.
yeah.
You'll eventually learn what that means later on, but it's what we
Okay.
kind of go based off of.
All right. So you guys are huge fans of the anime and possibly the manga and all that stuff too. Not me. Like me, I just got into it. So it's very fresh for me. So for someone who's been following this for years, I feel like you guys have a more critical eye when it comes to something like a live adaptation, right? I know there was that Dragon Ball Z movie, which was not
Oh
very good.
God.
There was the M. Night Shyamalan Avatar, not that good. And then there was Death Note, which is these are the only live action adaptions that I know, right? So they were not that good. So I would say expectations were very, very low to begin with. But for someone who embodies these characters and looks up to these characters and they hold a special place in their heart for such a long time, how do you guys feel about the live action adaptations? Gabe, you want to go first?
Yeah, the best thing about the live action adaptation, and you are correct though, if you watch the other ones, they've not been the best. And Kaibo Bebop even tried to immaculate on it, to do a really good job with that on their Netflix, but it didn't do well in the ratings. So with this One Piece, the reason why it's doing so well is because they have Ichiro Oda as one of the people in the background that kind of is their guard dog and make sure that every scene does a really good job. If there's something that he doesn't like, he tells them to reshoot it. So and they listen to him. And also Matt Owens is also one of the showrunners and the executive producers, and he does a really good job because he is also a fan and he really wanted to bring the stages, the characters to reality. And honestly speaking, I think they did an amazing job when it comes to casting. If you look at each of the characters, it really feels like it's them in real life.
I totally agree. And one of the cool things about these characters, if they're from different countries and different backgrounds, and the creator of the show actually said that, hey, this is what the backgrounds of all these characters should be. I believe Luffy was Brazilian, Sanji is French.
French.
Right. And then we got Nami, who is Swedish, and then you got Usopp, who is South African. I think it's really, really cool to have them, kind of do that and kind of, set the stage and make it, a little more diversity friendly. I think that was really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. Jazz, what are your thoughts on the live adaptation compared to the anime?
So I do have not even a handful, like maybe one gripe with it, which is phenomenal because, as you mentioned, the Dragon Ball live action, the Avatar live action, they were all garbage. This one held very true to the source material. And even though they did things out of order, I understand why they had to do it. It's because, you had to get the audience hooked, right? I know you started watching One Piece and you got, 44 episodes in before you actually started enjoying it?
66 episode it took me to enjoy it.
Right, yeah, the anime is very slow to begin with, and, no one ever doubts that. But, Netflix needed to absolutely get people hooked immediately. So they did mix some things up. I actually find that completely fine. The characters, my God, they were just so on point. I have one gripe. We can get into that later, but for now, it's just so good.
Yeah, as a newbie, it definitely was great to kind of just get into all these characters. I know, like I had said, I watched 66 episodes. I would literally just put the show on at the gym and just be on the treadmill watching it, so I didn't feel like it was a waste of time, because that's how boring the first few episodes kind of were for me. And I'm not very much of an anime person. It takes me a while to get into anime. The other thing is the anime is old, so the animation is a little hard to watch sometimes. And that's not anime, that's also American cartoons too. If you ever go back and watch X-Men, the 97 version, that's a little hard to watch too, to be honest with you. The animation is a little cringe. So it's hard for some people like me who, it's hard for them to get into something like that. But you know what? I pushed through. I got in. Once I got past the what was that? The the pussycat maneuver and all of that stuff, I was
Foxy,
good to
Foxy
go.
Pirates? Oh,
The Foxy
No,
Pirates, yeah.
no.
Oh no, you're
No,
talking about
the pussycat
what's his
maneuver,
face?
the claw door, the thing that he does, his
Yeah, yeah,
footwork.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
oh.
So that was really
Where they
cool.
first meet Usopp
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. On
I,
Syrup
yeah.
Island, Syrup
I had to
Village.
get past the Usopp storyline to get it. By the time Nami's storyline got in there, I was hooked. So that's what I really liked about it. Why it took 66 episodes to get there? That's just anime, right? So, but
Yeah.
to be fair, if you watch it on Netflix, it isn't really like that long because if you skip the end credits and you skip the what you call the recaps for the previous episode, it usually comes down to like 19 minutes. So it's not as bad. You can knock out like 3 of them on the treadmill if you walk for an hour. So not too bad.
Yeah. Don't forget, like, if you are gonna start the anime, like this anime was released in 1999. Like, it's been a long time. That was 9 years before HD became common.
Right.
So yeah, you're gonna experience the anachronism there almost, and so just be
Well,
patient. But it's so worth it, I promise you.
they also remastered the episodes and made it more HD. So I'm sure
Did they?
they're on Netflix or Crunchyroll as well.
Oh, I had no idea they
Interesting.
remastered them.
Hmm.
That's cool. I didn't know that either. But I honestly feel like it's not going to be as bad for people getting into it now if they watch the live action already, because they're already invested in the characters. Like the hardest part is getting invested into the characters, right? So if you're already invested in them, it won't be as hard to watch the cartoons because you love the characters already, and you wouldn't mind getting a more in-depth version of the characters character arc. So
Mm-hmm.
I think people will really like it. So that's our overall view of the show. Now we're gonna get into the breakdowns, the review, maybe some Easter eggs and stuff like that. It's really cool. The episode starts off just like the cartoon. We got let's see.
Anime, anime.
Oh, sorry, the anime. Sorry, my bad, my bad. Correct me. I'm probably gonna say cartoon a few more times before it catches on with me. But they're in Locktown, and we meet Gold Roger, and Gold Roger is the king of the pirates. He says that we shouldn't live in a world with all of these rules and all this stuff. We should have freedom and adventure, and that's the world we kind of live in. The people, the Marines who killed him, were hoping that when they kill him, it will teach everyone a lesson to give up piracy and all that stuff. But all it did was inspire people and more people to go and live a life of adventure, because he has this treasure called the One Piece, and everyone went to go and find this and become the new king of the pirates. What's really cool is if you look in the crowd, there's people in the crowd that you can actually notice it. And I haven't watched
Mm-hmm.
all of them, so I don't know if some of them have not been introduced yet. But I definitely saw Shank. Shank was in there with his straw hat and red hair. I'm sure there were a few others. It was a really cool scene. What were your thoughts about that, Skeeve? You want to go?
Yeah, a lot of the Easter eggs that we can also name is that the characters that were hidden there. We saw
Mhm.
Mihawk, we saw Crocodile, most likely. We saw Dragon, which is Luffy's father, but it has not been revealed yet. But it's really good. They did a really good job showing that scene because it felt like you were right into the anime right away from the show. And the fact that I felt a little bit estranged of it because Garp was really mean to Goldie Roger while he was trying to execute him. But in the anime, he's the one who kind of saves his son and tries to spare.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, well, should we talk about that or
Oh
no?
yeah. No. So we can spoil the first 4 episodes, but if there's stuff that happened in the anime and has not happened in the show, let's stay away from that.
All right, all right.
So
Can we rewind this?
yeah. So yeah, basically, if it happened on the show, it's fair game. If it happened in the cartoon, I mean in the anime, if it
Anime.
happened in the
Mhm.
anime, and it'll probably not happen on the show, feel free to share that too.
Yeah, of course, of course. I got
Yeah.
it now.
All right, so I think that'll be the rule for the most part. But yes, there were a lot of cool characters that were there. And Jazz, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, this is just like in the anime. Although in the anime initially they didn't show the crowd who was there. Throughout the episodes, like as you get more and more caught up, they will do flashbacks to Gold Roger's execution, and they'll like slowly add people in the crowd. You'd be like, oh, that's who that was. Oh, that's who that was.
Ah, very
Yeah.
cool.
In the live action, I believe, yeah, Shanks was there. Smoker was there. Who else? Keep come on, because I cannot remember off the
Dragon,
top of my head.
Dragon and
Dragon was there,
Crocodile.
yeah. Dragon, crocodile, maybe. I'm still not convinced on that theory yet.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that either, but someone said it was, or I just looked up online.
Okay,
It'd be
so either
hilarious if they actually do that. But
Yeah,
so
yeah,
here's the theory. If you've watched the anime, Neebs, I'm sure you've seen Crocodile by now.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, he is like a warlord of the sea. He's this big bad, like true gangster looking, mafioso guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so one of the funniest theories online was that he's actually a woman,
Mm.
and I think what Ski was pointing at was that there was one black woman in the crowd who could be Crocodile. So I think they're just playing into the theory just to have some fun there.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, that might be
Yeah,
cool. I mean, they might be throwing some red herrings to kind of throw us off a little bit too. So you never
yeah.
know.
That's why
Because
I'm not fully convinced, but yes,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
All right. So the Great Pirate Era has begun, and everyone's looking for the One Piece. So Luffy is in the East Blue. He's in this ship by himself. It goes into what's the name? A whirlpool, and he gets himself into a little barrel, and he finds himself on the ship of Alvida, and this is where he meets Kobe. So
Hmm.
I was really surprised with. I thought the guy who they picked as Kobe was spot on. He looked the
Perfect
part,
casting.
so perfect. In the dark scenes, I thought his hair wasn't pink enough, but then when you go back and see some of the other scenes, his hair is very pink. So that was really really cool. And then Luffy and him have a little bit of a conversation, and we have a little flashback, and we have our first flashback of Luffy as a child, and Luffy gets his scar because Shanks tells him, "Oh, he doesn't have scars yet." All of this stuff, and Luffy gives himself a scar. Now, in the anime, they do not show this yet. I'm all the way up to Water 7, and they still haven't explained how he got his scar. So this is something that they showed a little bit earlier. Jazz, I mean, no, Skeep, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, same thing. Jazz said it really well. They have a lot of flashbacks that they allude back when you progress more into the stories. So it's just a little bit of waiting on the anime part, but they did really want to show like how Luffy got his scar because then wouldn't make sense. And actually, scars are a really big thing in the One Piece world. There's a lot of hidden meanings behind scars. If we continue on to that path later on.
Very cool. So Luffy, as a child, is upset because he can't join the pirates. And what he does is he goes into his room, he finds his box, and the box has the devil fruit, which is the gum gum fruit. And in anger, he eats it. uh, Skeeb, what are your thoughts about the live action version of a gum gum fruit? Does it look tasty?
Yeah, it actually looked really, really good. I
What?
love. Well, the texture was cool. The texture was there, the colors were there, the markings were there. I think they did a really good job. The only thing that was a little weird was the green inside the fruit because when you watch the anime, there's no like color inside the fruit, and everyone kind of eats it in like 1-2 gulps, maybe cuts it up in little pieces. But I kind of wish they did it the way Luffy did it because the way Luffy did it was that he was really angry at Shanks and he
Yeah.
was hungry at the same time, and the fruit, the box was just right there, and he just ate it. And I kind of missed out on the comedy factor of it because when everyone realized that his arm was stretched out, everyone just like in the bar just spat their drinks, and everyone was like, "What?" But you kind of lose a little comedy factor in this.
Yeah. Yeah, in the anime, basically they hold Luffy upside down and try to make him spit it out. And as he's trying to
Yeah,
spit it out, his legs start to just droop, and he falls down on the floor. And Shank was a lot madder at him in the anime than he was in the cartoon. They definitely want us to really really love Shank because Luffy loves Shank, and it's going to be hard to do in that short amount of time if we see him yelling at him and mad at him a lot. But the reason Shank is so upset is because the devil fruit comes with a price, and that price is you can't swim. And not being able to
Ever.
swim and being a pirate is a huge deal. Jazz, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they had to nerf characters somehow. Like, if you're gonna have this incredibly powerful ability, then you can't just swim with it. Like there has to be something to balance it out. With regards to the actual devil fruit, yeah, I do wish they did more of the comedic version of it. I know people will be like, "Oh, that was so cringe." Like if you try to do it now, it looks kind of stupid, and I understand that, but there should have been a better way to do it. I think they could have actually pulled it off. It would have been just really funny, and the actual texture of the fruit. If you've seen like the anime, these devil fruits taste like garbage. Like they are the worst thing in the world. And Luffy's over here taking like several bites of it. Like, no, bro, you only need one bite, and he just be like, "Oh, what the hell was this? This is disgusting," and then just throw it away. And that's enough. But didn't show that, so I guess that might be fixed later, but we'll see.
All right, very interested about that. We also get to see Zoro, which is exciting, and Zoro's
Oh, wait,
on this
real quick,
island.
real quick, real quick, real quick.
Sure,
The one other thing I didn't like about the fruit scene
sure.
is it looked like it was just in a box, right?
Yeah.
The anime, I don't know if it was the remake or the original, but it initially showed that it was a box that was owned by the Marines, which is, oh shoot, I can't say this. Okay, never mind. Well, one day you'll figure that out. You'll understand the significance of that.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I
Well,
wish they foreshadowing that was in the anime. I wish it was in the live action. It just wasn't there.
okay. All right. So we'll see about that.
Mhm.
All right. Roronoa Zoro. He is at a island, and there's a guy behind him. Apparently, this man worked for Baroque Works. He has a big number 7, and he wants Zoro to kind of join him. Uh, I really love this part because they never show this part in the anime, but they do mention it. There is a few lines of dialogue where Zoro mentions that there was somebody trying to recruit him, and the only way he would ever join was if he was number 1. And in this scene, the number 1 is basically a middle finger, which I thought was really, really funny. And then they go into this cool fight scene, and Zoro cuts him in half, which I'm like, oh, that's the kind of fighting we're gonna see. We're gonna see some blood. We're gonna see some limbs getting taken off. Okay,
Mhm.
that was really cool because obviously, it's an anime, but it's for children. We don't see any limbs or blood in the first few seasons, at least. I don't recall any. I do remember seeing blood in some of the older, I mean, the newer ones. I see a lot of blood now, but I know the first few episodes there was really no blood, and I guess because they figured the people watching the show are growing up alongside with the show, and they're becoming older and more mature. So I guess the content gets a little bit more mature. It also gets a little more
Yep.
pervy. To be honest with you, there are some parts where I'm like, "Come on, Sanji, what are you doing?" But yes, it is really interesting how it gets a little darker in this scene. But the live animation, the live adaptation starts off right away with the Mortal Kombat fatality that Zoro does. What were your thoughts on Zoro, Jazz?
So I thought they introduced him perfectly. I thought they nailed the casting. Like this part of Mr. Seven was not in the anime initially,
Mm-hmm.
and when they just cut him up, I'm like, I am in. This is where the live action got me hooked. I was like, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It was just perfectly executed for Zoro. Did a great job, and I can't wait to see more of it.
It's cool because this show is giving us something that the anime hasn't. Because like I didn't know about the scar, and I didn't know about the scene, which I thought was really cool. So the show is actually giving us something different. Even if you're an anime fan, it's not just scene by scene stuff from the anime. There's also new stuff being thrown in here, which I thought was really cool. Ski, what are your thoughts about Zoro?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job casting Zoro. I think it's a really young version of Zoro that we all know and love, right? And so I'm actually with it. And the actor actually does have katana experience and experience with like fighting, and really excited to see his journey in the show.
Very cool, very cool. So we go back to the flashback, and Shank is being approached by some pirates. They're picking on them, and he decides not to fight back. And this makes Luffy really, really upset. And then Luffy's like, "Why didn't you stand up to them? Why didn't you fight against these pirates?" And then Shank, give him a little bit of wisdom and saying, hey, not everything can be solved with violence, teaching Luffy that, hey, you need to know when to walk away. And Luffy starts calling him a coward, to which he replies, this is how I know you're not ready to be a pirate. In which case, he grabs his hand and then it starts stretching, and that's where they realize he ate the devil fruit. And then Kobe starts telling him stuff that he wants to do, and Kobe is telling him that he wants to be a Marine. So on one side, you got a Marine. On the other side, you got a pirate. Two opposite ends of the spectrum, both really good friends at this moment, right? And in the anime, you don't see a lot about Kobe after Straw Hat gets his crew and kind of leaves. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 episodes that feature Kobe, but nothing in between. Just enough though that we don't forget about him, but they don't really feature him as much. But this show really showed a lot about Kobe. They really focus on him quite a bit, which I thought was really, really cool. Ski, what were your thoughts about that? Is that something you expected, or you thought that was a little bit different?
Yeah, no, I actually really love that. Kobe is also a supporting character in this series, and they kind of show the two sides, the pirate side and the marine side. And in the first 4 episodes, you do get Kobe, who I think they did a really good job with casting as well. He has this nervousness about him. He's not really like, he wants to learn more about the world. He wants to be of the marine that helps people and supports people and is the way of justice. And the whole idea of pirates are mean and evil and not about this, and that they'll take everything and they'll steal and they'll pillage and whatever. Kobe wants to be that person that saves every single person no matter what. And then Luffy's kind of the same way. He wants to help people, but as a pirate. So I think they do a really good job. It's kind of like the yin and yang, or more like they're just two different journeys, like a Naruto and a Sasuke kind of going at it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like Luffy wants to help people and do the right things, but he wants to do it with the freedom that comes with an adventure. And Kobe wants to do it with structure and rules and following by the book. So they both want to do the right thing, but they both have chosen two different paths on how to do it. And I think that's really, really cool. I really enjoy that. Jazz, what are your thoughts?
Well, y'all nailed it. And without me going into future theories, I'm just going to not add on to it. I think Skip just nailed it perfectly.
All right. Well, here's something you can add on to. Nami. We get introduced to Nami, and she is a helpless chick in a boat, and she needs help. And then these pirates come and they try to save her, but really they're trying to rob her, and really she robs them, which is a great introduction right off the anime. Jazz, what are your thoughts on the Nami?
Oh my god, she was also cast perfectly. I don't know if anybody could have done a better job than her. So yeah, like they
Oh, it's Ski, by the way, if you're typing, we can hear it, so just mute yourself.
I muted him. But
Okay.
yeah, MacBooks, right? The keyboards are always like that. Anyways, Nami, yeah, she just perfection from the anime, man. Like I really no notes, just perfection.
Yeah, the actress is so beautiful too. She's a knockout. Ski, what are your thoughts on Nami?
Yeah. Once again, they did a perfect job casting. She actually is a fan of Nami and a fan of One Piece. Emily Rudd, right? That's Paul Rudd's
Emily
daughter.
Rudd.
Yeah, she's
What?
talking about.
Wait, what?
Right?
That's Paul Rudd's daughter?
Right?
Someone fact check that. That's
okay,
crazy.
Fact check that. But as far as I remember, she is a fan of One Piece and she is a fan of Nami, and she immaculates the cat burglar really well in the series.
Nah, that's crazy. All right, cool.
That is Emily Rudd. Can
No
confirm.
way. Yo, Paul Rudd looks so young. You would never think that he has a daughter like that old. Wow.
Daughter?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's so cool. All right, cool. All right. So Kobe and Luffy are in this town, Shell Town, and they see a bunch of wanted posters. We get to see a lot of cool people. We saw Buggy, obviously, but there's also Bellamy and Foxy, who are some pirates we get to meet later on. We don't meet them in this show, but they are in the anime. So hopefully a little indication of we might get to see them. That would be really, really cool. I really enjoy the Foxy Pirates. I know a lot of people said it was filler, but like I thought those were really fun and funny to watch. There's some stuff that cracks me up on this, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. I don't know how it would translate into live action, just a bunch of silly games, but who knows? The Foxy games, maybe they'll do well in live action. We'll see.
You need the fillers every now and then. They gives time for the manga artist to rest, Ichiro Oda to rest,
Yeah,
and it's just fun. Like, just enjoy it.
it was fun.
Mhm.
All right. So at this point, they're in a bar. Zoro's in this bar, Nami's in this bar, Luffy's in this bar, and Kobe's in this bar. And this guy comes in, and as this cute little girl, is giving Zoro some chocolate rice balls, this guy kind of runs into it and steps on it. And I can't pronounce his name. Hemefo? Is that his name?
Helmeppo.
Helmeppo, that's his name.
Mhm.
He comes in here and he starts being a little bitch. And then Zoro has to show him what's what. And as Zoro is fighting all these guys and doing some kick-ass fighting, Luffy's like, "Whoa, this guy can really fight." And Nami is getting hit on by some guys, and the guy's like, "Can I buy you a drink?" And she goes, "Nope, too tall." And she gets a drink from a shorter guy, and I'm like, what's going on here? And obviously she wants to steal his uniform. So she's like, you get to see a little bit of Nami doing this stuff in the background. Zoro's fighting, and Luffy's just kind of observing at this point. What are your thoughts about the bar fight? Jazz, you want to go first?
So, this is one of the few scenes I actually thought was better than the anime.
Okay.
Just seeing the 4 different perspectives and how they're all playing out all at once. I don't think the anime captured that just like the way the live action did. So they definitely learned, and this was just really well orchestrated. Like, all the moving parts were working in tandem, and then everybody executing perfectly. Well done.
Nice. Gee, what are your thoughts?
I was like, it's a day for the short kings. When, Nami was like, "You're too tall," and I was like, "Yes!" But I realized I knew what she was getting at. I knew she was going to steal like the uniform or something. I was really excited about that. And Zora once again executed the fight scene very, very well. And Luffy was just there enjoying it the whole time, and Kobe was hiding.
Yeah.
Which is so
and
on point for the characters. Like, that's exactly what you want to see. So
yeah, exactly. And then what happens is Hemefo, what's his name? Hemalefo?
Helmeppo.
Hemenophone. He tells Zoro who his father is. And says his father will give him anything he wants. And he goes, "Oh, well, since I have the head of this Baroque agent, I am going to see if I can get some money for this." But instead of giving him money, they basically capture him. After offering him a job and him saying no, I'm kind of just doing my own thing. Little Spider-Man reference, Miles Morales. I'm gonna do my own thing. Kind of vibe right there going on. And they put him in this little, they tie him up, just like in the cartoons. And I thought that was really cool. See how he got there. And now we see Nami trying to sneak in there with her uniform. And then Luffy sneaks in underground and unties Zoro while having a conversation with him and asking him, what does he really want to do? And he tells him that he made a promise to somebody that he would become the greatest swordsman in the world. And I think this is where Zoro kind of realizes that he hasn't been doing that. He's just been a bounty hunter, and he hasn't been on enough adventures where he's actually, honing his skills and stuff. And then he tells Luffy that he's not going to join his crew. And Luffy saves him anyways, and then goes in. And then as he goes in, Luffy and Nami meet each other. They meet Captain Morgan, who, not just named after a drink, but he's also Axe Hand Morgan. And they go into his room. They find the safe. They get the safe, and they end up in the yard. And then the fight begins. Now, I love this interaction with Nami and Luffy. The first time they're actually interacting with each other, it's so natural. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the comedic chemistry between the two was really, really funny. The way she gets annoyed by Luffy was really, really on point. What are your thoughts, Ski?
Sorry, thoughts about what? Which part?
Thoughts about the whole part of Nami and Luffy meeting each other, their chemistry.
I'm gonna pass on this one.
All right, Jazz, what about you?
Okay, so the anime took some liberties here, obviously, but I think it worked. This was more of a G7 kind of reference. I'm sure you saw the G7 arc right after Skypiea, and it was a little out of place, but this exemplifies the essence of the Straw Hat Pirates. What's unique about them, it's that, you know, every other crew is like well structured, well oiled machine. The Straw Hat Pirates are quite literally 10 individuals with their own dreams just hanging out together. So
Mm.
their whole crew of misfits, like as a whole, is also a misfit in the world of pirates. And then this scene here with, you know, Nami, Zoro, and Luffy at the end, you know, where they're like, "Oh yeah, this is my crew," and they're both like, "We're not a crew." Like, that's really cool how they showed that, and I thought it was a good way of portraying it.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I remember a few seasons ago, we did an episode with Dr. Salaam about leadership in the Marvel Universe. And he talked about
Mm-hmm.
how people think that uh, Captain America is a good leader or Iron Man's a good leader, and his point was actually the best leader in the MCU is actually Star-Lord because he has the most mismanaged group. They're the most hard to control. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, but he still manages to get them together for a single cause. And I feel like Luffy is very much that same way. I feel like he kind of is the embodiment of kind of like Star-Lord in the terms of his leadership style, where he's
Mm-hmm.
goofy and silly for most of the time, but then he gets serious. And when he gets serious, he is on point. He is not wrong.
And then
And
everybody gets in line.
and everybody gets in line, and that's how Luffy is. And I would love to have them back on the show. I would very much like to see leadership skills of the Straw Hat Pirates, and their opinion on that. That'll be really cool. Skeep, what are your thoughts on the fight that took place right afterwards? Because that is the big part, climax of this episode. They're fighting. Captain Axan Morgan comes out. We get to see the three sword style, where Luffy's like, "Where does that go? Where does that third sword go?" You realize it goes in his mouth, and he goes, "Oh, that's where it goes." And they get to see each other's powers. They get to see each other's strengths. I think it was really, really cool. Um, there is a little bit of issues with some of the. I feel like there were some goofs in there. There were some swords bending that shouldn't be bending when they were just doing these flips and stuff. But other than that, I thought it was done really well. Ski, what are your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see such a fight happen. It's a little bit different than the anime because of the anime. I think it was just Zoro and Luffy fighting. Nami kind of came later on in the series, but to see Zoro fight, but also I think what it was that I think Zoro kind of took the minions of like the Marines, and then Luffy was one who landed like the final hit on Axe Morgan. And I think he did a different technique. I think he probably did the bazooka Gum Gum
Yeah.
Bazooka versus Axe Morgan, and I know that they're trying to build this character and show it slowly, but you know, little by little, you get to learn about their, like you're saying, their characters, their powers, and their teamwork. And the only thing that I didn't really like about this as well is that Luffy kind of is the one who kind of takes on the big baddie of that series, wherever it is, Axe Morgan, et cetera, et cetera. And you see Luffy more serious in these fights. And in the anime, he's a little bit more comical. I think I don't like the fact that they took away his comedic aspect of it, because every fight that Luffy's been in so far has been a very serious thing, and he's like really focused.
I think it's just a thing to do with the times we're in now. Like
Yeah.
back then, that would have been more acceptable. Now, if we did something like that, I think people would be like, "Oh, it's just cringe. This is bad. We don't want to see this." Like for a casual viewer, they may not want to see that, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but like, it's one of those things. Like, yes, I don't like it, but I understand why they had to do it.
But also the justification of why Luffy is fighting in the first place. I think there was a reason in the anime. I think Axe Morgan had killed his Marines or something, or like injured his Marines,
Yeah.
and Luffy got really upset. So in this one, in the live action, you kind of see Axe Morgan following the ideas of justice, but not really a bad person. So I don't see the contrast of why they have to fight him in a sense, because Luffy is only fighting these characters because they do something evil. And he's like, okay, I have to stop you now.
Yeah, and I also know that there was a little girl who would bring Zoro food because
Mhm.
and water because, you know, he helped her and her family back in the day. We didn't get to see that here,
Yeah.
and I kind of wish they showed that. I thought it would have added much more depth to Zoro's character, that he's
Yes.
not just a bounty hunter, he has a moral code, and we didn't exactly see that yet. And so that is one of the gripes I have with this scene.
It's fair. That's a fair
So
gripe.
yeah,
I agree with
anime
that.
better here.
I mean, the anime will always be better because they have so much more advantage, right? They could do more episodes. There's so much limitless to the fighting. So I don't think that's always a fair comparison, but it's got to be good enough live adaptation where it's not completely cringe. It's got to hold its own, and I think the
Yeah.
show kind of does that. One of the things that I really like, and I didn't think they would do it, is the snails that are the telephone. I was
Yeah, the
like, they're not
Denden
gonna do that.
Mushi.
That's so funny. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh no, they didn't." The CGI on that was pretty good. Um, and then as this episode ends, we get to see Garp and Bogart, and we get to learn about them. And Garp, in my opinion, and I don't remember this really well, he wasn't really focused in the anime. Is that true? I don't remember him being at it.
Yeah, in the anime, we don't find out a lot of things about Garp until later.
Yeah,
But this is like I know Neebs, you're just getting to Water 7 or you're like in Water 7 right now.
yeah,
At the end of Water 7 at Ennie's lobby, it's like a two-part arc kind of thing. Uh that's where Garp comes back and explains some things. So they
okay.
took the liberty of taking some of those scenes and putting them earlier in the anime,
Mm-hmm.
just so it makes a bit more sense. Uh, I get it. Am I happy about it? Not completely, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. And then Skeeb's messaging me in the private chat about the Denden Mushi, how they changed it a bit because like previously it was like wired to the shell. Now they have like a Bluetooth earpiece for it, and I'm like, all right, we're modernizing a bit. Cool, that one's fine.
That's funny. Yeah, I do really like that. There are stuff that they are fast forwarding, and you want them to have enough content for enough, seasons where we can really like have a bunch of seasons of the show and get the ending. But it's a long show. There's a lot of episodes. So they have to, I think, condense a lot of this stuff. I'm not really mad at them condensing a lot of this stuff. Um,
Yeah, I mean they have to because like if
yeah,
they had to do what 1,000 episodes for a live action, like Netflix would never sign off on that. So it's fine. Just watch both. You'll see what I mean.
so here's my question as a dum who doesn't know anything. Maybe Skeeb, you can answer this. Uh, we still don't have the One Piece. We don't know the way ending, the way it ends and stuff like that. Do you think this show will end with him getting the One Piece, or will this show end without him getting the One Piece?
That's a really hard objective to actually think about the trajectory of the growth of how the show will do. I think they did get casted for season 2, like they got the green light for
Yeah,
season 2. But you're right, with 1,000+ episodes, and they're trying to like they condense East Blue. So what it is that they have sagas, and each sagas has sub sagas. So we saw this 61 episode arc from the anime is 8 episodes in the live action. This takes place of all East Blue. Next, we're going to get Alabasta. And so they might do it in a way where seasons will be by the sagas.
yeah,
So at most 10, 12 seasons, but we'll see how that goes because even in the anime, the Wano arc right now is 200 episodes long. So
hmm,
to try to condense that into 8 to 10 episodes would be a little bit difficult. So the idea of them trying to finalize the series and having the One Piece, I think they're going to chart on their own course and revert away from the anime at some point and finish the series on their note.
yeah.
I don't
I-
think the live action would end before the anime. I think like Wano and the Whole Cake Island arc, which is Big Mom's arc, they have so much content there. I think they can do a whole season, if not 2 seasons, with each of them.
Yeah,
So
you have to keep in mind though the actors are getting older.
yeah.
They're not going to do a
they
lot of
are
flashbacks with the kids. So that was my only like
sure.
one regret with Stranger Things. I wish they had just like kept doing episodes on the little when they were younger, and then just fish those out. But yeah, I just think the actor is going to get older, and production's going to change.
That makes a lot
I
of
mean,
sense.
it's gonna happen, but I think with de-aging technology now, or maybe even recasting, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, if they recast some of the younger people, I don't think people would mind like for the flashbacks and stuff. But yeah, who knows? I'm very curious where it goes. It would be very interesting to see them get the One Piece, because for this show to end and get like canceled or whatever, or just finish without them getting the One Piece would be kind of like, what was the point of the show? It's kind of just like, well, okay. For the people who don't know the anime, they'd just be like, huh? What? They never got the One Piece? So it'd be kind of weird. So we'll have to see. We'll have to
Well,
see
if I
about that.
recall correctly, they actually did really well in regards to ratings.
They
They
did.
beat
They
out
did.
Wednesday and Stranger Things.
Yeah, they really did. It's their number one show at the moment, and they did it during a writer strike. All
Mhm.
of there's no promotion, none of that stuff, except for the stuff that was done and pre-recorded. If you see, there's a lot of content going out on like TikTok and uh, Instagram and stuff like that, and they all say previously recorded, previously recorded. It's like everywhere,
Yeah.
so you know they don't get in trouble for the strike, which I thought was really really cool. But yes, that's the end of episode 1. You want to get into episode 2?
I
Do it.
mean, we're 46 minutes into it, man. We may have to like,
So
Break it down.
you know,
we might just do episode 1 and 2, and then we'll do 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. We'll have to do them in 2 sets. I think that's the best way to
yeah.
do it.
I don't even think
All
we
right.
can do them all today. Like 1 through 4 today. I think we can only just do 1 and 2 because there's so much content. Like,
Too much
Yeah,
content.
there's so much content. So let's do episode 2, and then we'll do episode 3 and 4 another time.
okay.
All right, so I'm going to redo the intro. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. We're going to split this episode up into one, and then we're going to go into our second episode. So we'll be right back after this.
Spotify.
Yo, Salaam nerds. It's your boy Neebs, aka Watch with Neebs, and I'm back with my co-host Jazz, aka DJ Buggy the Pirate.
DJ Buggy the Pirate. Let's just jump right into it, man. Like, I actually like the live action Buggy. I know people were like creeped out by it, but I'm like, yes, you're supposed to be. He's a
Yeah.
clown pirate. He's supposed to be creepy. Like, they nailed the casting on this one too.
I know. But before we get into that, we want to bring back Skeeb. Skeeb, welcome back to the show, part 2.
Oh.
This is still One Piece part 1, which is part 1 is episode 1 and 2. I know it's a little confusing, but we're gonna do 2 episodes, and then we'll probably do another 2 a little bit after that.
Yeah.
But welcome, guys. We are now doing episode 2, and Luffy meets Buggy the Pirate, and we see a little bit of Buggy the Pirate at the end of the first episode, and it is very strange. A strange phenomenon is happening online, and that is women thirsting for Buggy the Pirate. Like, it is so wild.
What?
Oh my god, Jazz, it's all over my TikTok. Everyone's just watching this video of him, and you know when he's like sitting on his chair with his leg up, and everyone's like, yo, why he's sitting like that, yo? Like, girls are all about him. Something about him is very sexy to women. I don't know what to say, man. Buggy the Pirate's got it going on.
You know, this reminds me of like the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, like when everybody was like thirsting over him and he's like a serial killer. Like,
Yeah.
yo, people, come on, get a grip, all right? This is not somebody you should be idolizing.
Yeah. Well, the actor that got to play him is actually he was a big character in Agents of Shield. He was a Deke in Agents of Shield, and he's such a great actor, and he does such a great job as Buggy, like so good. I really, really love him. Ski, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I think they nailed the casting, and you're right. I think a lot of women are thirsting over this man because he's very handsome. Once you take up all the makeup off, but regardless, I think this Buggy kind of doesn't really. I don't really like this Buggy. The reason being is I feel like he immaculates a lot of like the Joker vibes, a lot of like past clown, like the It. Like I think it's a very scary Buggy, and we'll go more about that. Other reasons why I don't really like him later on. But overall, I mean, Buggy the Clown's here, and he's here to stay.
Yeah. I do feel like he starts off a little scary and a little serious, but as the show goes on, he gets a little bit more and more ridiculous and a little bit more silly, especially when he's just like a head and shoes, and he's just like walking around with the head and stuff like that. It's really, really funny. So I did like that. All right, so we left off with some flashbacks where Luffy basically ate the gum gum fruit, and in here we see Shank is leaving, and Luffy eats the Gum Gum group, and Shanks gives him his hat. Now that hat is now his prized possession. It is his treasure. It's a big deal to him. He gets really upset if anybody touches it. He's always trying to fix it and all that stuff. I thought it was really, really cool when they talked about the hat, because we know how special it is, and we get why they're called the Straw Hat Pirates. Jazz, what are your thoughts about that scene?
So this hat is very, very special.
Yeah.
And right, it is Luffy's most prized possession. We learned that in Nami's arc, which we will talk about soon, in the next few episodes. But seeing how obsessive he is with keeping it intact, I think they did a great job with that, because it's just like in the anime. Like, the Straw Hat's constantly getting battered, they're constantly repairing it, and it's truly a symbol of what it means for Luffy to be Luffy. So, yeah, they've done a fantastic job with the Straw Hat, and I'm very glad they put so much emphasis on it.
Yeah, same here. Big fan of that. Skeeb, what are your thoughts about the hat?
Yeah. Also, shout out to the set designs, because the set designs there actually make you feel like you're in Logtown, and just everywhere else, all the sets that they have, and they did a really good job. But in regards, let's go back to the hat. And once again, yes, when Shanks put the hat on Luffy, I think that was a very like heartwarming scene, because he was like, "You have to give this hat back to me once you become a great pirate." And from then on, Luffy's been obsessed of being the greatest in the world. And what does that mean? Finding the One Piece and becoming the Pirate King. So that's the beginning of Luffy's dream. And from there on, no one's gonna tell him no.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So in this show, we see that they kind of get captured by Buggy, and what Luffy does is he eats the map, which is what Luffy would do. Luffy would eat the map, and then when Buggy is interrogating them, I would say he does mention that he knows another pirate who had a straw hat, and he mentions that he knows Shank, and that him and Shank kind of were like close, and then Shank betrayed him. This is not in the what? This is not in the anime. This I don't.
Yet.
I mean, not yet.
Not yet for you.
You don't know this in the anime in terms of where we are in the story arc right now, right? Correct. I believe you probably find it. So this show is introducing elements to me that I don't have any prior knowledge of, even though I watched the cartoon and I watched past the point of anime, even though I watched past the point of this anime. And I was like, what? Buggy and Shanks? I was like, that is a weird combination. That is a cool little thing that they dropped in there. Ski, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, when you're watching the live action, think of this as like the multiverse kind of. You have all the elements. You have the characters, you have their background stories. So like in Beyond the Spider-Verse, you have Officer Singh, who's a cop and he has to die. But in this one, it's similar. You have Buggy and Shanks. They were on the same crew at some point, but maybe their stories kind of overlap a little bit. So that's the idea how I take it, why they are bringing it a lot earlier, because they have all this knowledge, all this SBS behind it, that they might add the elements, because it is relevant to the world. Even though they didn't have it in the anime right away, it's still prevalent.
You'll find out about the stuff around episode 400.
Yeah. Oh my God, 400. God.
It's worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Worth it.
So Netflix only goes up to episode 336. That's all it goes up to. So I'll have to find someplace else to watch the rest.
Bro, I'll give you my Crunchyroll account.
Yeah, boy. All right, let's do it. All right. So Shanks and Buggy are, they know each other. And then they get into a fight, and then Buggy reveals that he ate the chop fruit, and he can disassociate or dislocate all his body parts. And apparently on TikTok, people had a question about a certain body part, and yes, it's also detachable. Apparently,
yes, it is.
The
answer is yes. The answer is yes.
There was a lot of people asking about that. Way too many, but yes, all his body parts are detachable.
Yeah, the writer did confirm that, and yes.
That's bizarre. Oh man, let's move on.
It can fly.
All right, all right. Goddamn chop fruit. All right. Um, and then I have a note here. Kajiri, is that one of the guys?
Probably one
Who?
of his like minions. The one with
Minion.
like the long green hair.
Yeah, there's one with the long green hair, and there's one with this like wool stuff, and he is a lion tamer, and there's a lion
Yes.
named Richard. We didn't see Richard. I was a little sad we didn't get to see Richard the lion.
Yeah, me too. They didn't do a lot of really good job with the animals because the
Yeah.
animals actually do have a significant part in a lot of these series, like the birds, the lions, the dogs, and everything. Especially the dog in Logtown. He kind of like
Yeah.
kind of had a thing about helping Luffy. I think he was like barking or something and distracted Buggy at some point. But I mean, you do see the dog at the end,
Yes.
but not he doesn't have a relevant part in the series.
Yeah. So the dog was a really significant part because he had a I almost like I don't know if you guys ever seen that Futurama episode where the dog is like staying outside in the rain for like years
Oh my
waiting for his
god, the
master.
Seymour episode.
Yeah, so this dog has a similar storyline, which is kind of interesting. But I'm not gonna ruin it for anybody. But it's kind of like that. He means a lot to a lot of the people who watch this because I know a lot of people who start watching the show. That's the episode that gets them really hooked on it emotionally. It's that
Yeah.
it's that damn dog. So
Because
I
he's very
thought that
tenacious. Like he wasn't backing down, just like Luffy would. And
yeah, the poor dog. No, it was really really cool. All right, and in here we notice that Garp and Cody get together, so they kind of are know each other now. So that opens happen, and we mentioned Bogart. Now Bogart is a character that I don't really remember too much. Is he in the earlier seasons or did they add him?
He's in the anime.
Okay.
He's always been the right hand for Vice Admiral Garp. I don't remember when he came into the anime,
Mhm.
but yes, he's always been there.
Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. So we do have another flashback sequence, and this flashback kind of goes into Shank versus those pirates that were picking on him earlier.
Mhm.
And Shanks and his crew kind of fight them. And we see that Yosep is one of the crew members, and we know
Yasop.
that
Yasop.
Yasop, sorry, gave him a Muslim sounding name, Yosef. He is the dad of Usopp, and I did not see that coming so soon. That's not really revealed so early in the anime. What were your thoughts on that? That came out pretty early.
So they are releasing a lot of like little tidbits earlier,
Yeah.
and it's better storytelling for a live action.
Mhm.
I think it works out pretty well here. And then as they go into seasons 2, 3, 4 of the live action, it'll all tie together. So just like in the anime, where even the filler arcs eventually tie back in, you can't really skip anything. And I think they're doing a good job, opening all these threads that they'll eventually tie together.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I totally get that. But then we do see that Luffy goes into the water and he doesn't know that Luffy. Oh no, I think the pirate takes Luffy into the water, and then Luffy drowns. He falls in, and then we see that Shank goes in after him. And as Shank
Mhm.
comes out, another sea monster comes in, and the sea monster bites the boat, and Shank just looks at him in the eye and goes, "Get lost." And I was like, "Wait a second, does Shank have powers? I don't know, because so far I don't know if he has powers or not." But that was kind of iffy. But he saves Luffy. But when he turns around, you realize man's entire arm is gone and didn't even flinch. And I was like, "Oh no!" For a second, I thought they weren't going to do the arm thing because it happens underwater, but here it just happened, and you didn't notice it. I thought it was really, really cool. Even though I expected it, it still kind of didn't see it coming. Ski, what are your thoughts?
I actually loved this scene. The fact that when early on when the Sea King was in the water, like the Godzilla or like
Yeah.
one of those kaiju's, I was like, oh man, they're probably not going to show it. They're just probably going to because they probably don't have the budget for the animation, the CGI. But when they showed the sea beast, I was like, whoa, this is just like the anime, and I think they did a really good job because it looked real. And yes, the fact that the sea beast ate Shanks's arm, I wish they did it when they were in the water, because it would also kind of allude to you that, oh, maybe Shanks also doesn't have a devil fruit, and that's why he's on the boat, and that's why he also saves Luffy. But yeah, I mean, I love the scene. I think they did a really good job, and yes, Shanks did intimidate the sea beast, and the sea beast did leave. But we'll learn about that later on in the series.
Okay. Someone also mentioned the paramecia. What is that, Steve? Do you want to go into that?
So, do you
Or
want me to do
either
it? Or do you want to do Skib?
Let me start off first, and then Jazz, you can chime in.
Okay, sure.
So there's the devil fruits, as you know, are items which you eat, and once you eat them, you kind of lose the ability of swimming. But you have the ability to gain three different types of powers. There's a logia, which basically means you have the element. You have like fire, rain, snow, water. Parmesia, what Luffy has, and that gives you random abilities like rubber. Chop fruit is a Parmesia, and just various things that you can control. And then you have the last one, which is zone, which kind of transforms you into an animal. So you could either do a full animal form or a hybrid animal form, and there's different variations. So each fruit has a specific power, but then you could have sub powers within the fruits.
Very cool. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. And I think that'll make a lot more sense when people are introduced to characters like Chopper and stuff like that, I guess. So that'll
Yes,
be
chopper and
interesting.
smoker.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Generally
Okay.
speaking, paramecia fruit is like a catch-all for everything else.
Hmm.
Zoan is you get certain characteristics of animals.
Yeah.
Logia is you get the element. Paramecia is just everything else that doesn't fit into those two categories.
Yeah, like some of them are weird. Like one guy can just turn into a door at any moment. Like that's such a
Yeah.
weird. That's a
That's
weird
definitely
choice.
paramecia.
Also, the thing with devil fruits too as well is that not even it doesn't have to just be humans. Like as you
Yeah,
know, eventually Chopper will eat it. He's an animal, but
yeah,
even items can devour devil fruits and have that power.
yeah. That's really, really funny. I love how they have funny names like Chop Chop, Gum Gum, Door. Like they're so hilarious. You're like, what did the
Yes.
Door fruit do? It turns you into a door. Like, oh, okay, duh. Like they're so funny.
Wait till you hear about all the others. Like, we
Uh,
had was it Neek Montgomery? She was on our podcast at some point. She has this whole series of like the different types of fruits in One Piece. It's so funny.
so
Highly
funny.
recommend going see it. Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. All right. So while Luffy is kind of trapped and fighting Buggy, Zoro and Nami are kind of like trapped also, and they're trying to escape. So right now, Zoro doesn't really trust Nami that well, so he doesn't know if he's gonna actually help her or not. But eventually, they do get free, and Nami does cut him down, and they go to help Luffy. Um, and then more of a fight breaks out. What were your thoughts about the big fight between Luffy and Buggy and Nami and Zoro and everybody? The big live action fight. What were your thoughts on that, Ski?
Once again, I love the fight. You get to see Buggy in his element, and the CGI does a really good job when it comes to just him pursuing his persona and being the evil person he is, and just trying to like fight Luffy. And I think they did a really good job every time they like disassembled his body parts and moved it
Yeah.
around. But just like the anime, they figured out how to stop him. But the thing was, Luffy is not smart. Luffy in the series is very, very smart. He's the one calling the shots and everything.
Mhm.
I think when they did it in the anime, he just did it off of just humor. It
Yeah.
was a comedic
Dumb
version.
luck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dumb luck. But this one, like Luffy's really taking charge and everyone's listening to him.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense because later on they explained that how he was trained and who trained him and stuff like that. So that kind of goes into it. That makes a lot of sense to me. All right. So they kind of save him. They free the people. And that's where you see the dog kind of just like still like coming by and you're like, oh, that's the reference to the dog, which is cool. Like, even though they don't show that, I love that they make a little reference to it. Be like, okay, we're not going to do this, but here's a little reference to all of this. Yeah, I want to talk about this part, Ski?
Yeah, just backtracking on just the whole episode with Bucky, he enslaves this city. He destroys this city, and he
Yeah.
basically forces them to laugh and be his like audience. And I think in the anime, the reason why you love Buggy so much is because he wants to be a great pirate, and everyone follows him not because he's evil, but they don't see that he's evil. They just follow him because he's Buggy. He's doing everything amazingly. But he does everything by accident, which ends up being very fortunate for him, and it showcases that he's the hero. But in this one, he was very evil and very maniacal, and I just didn't really like that because in the anime, like I'm saying, he becomes someone of a very authoritative figure that everyone looks up and really admires. But in this one, if you just start off from the bat from this one, you really hate the man, and you're like, oh, I don't really like this pirate, and pirates are evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting you say that because me hating Buggy, I hated him early on in the anime. So I didn't watch the anime like, you know, in a set time frame. I didn't like binge it all at once. I started watching the show in 2005. That was almost 20 years ago. And so back then I hated Buggy. Like I remember hating him. And I think even though they made him more evil in the live action, it works because people have that same visceral hatred that I had back in the day as a teenager. So
Mm.
I think it works out fine actually.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I definitely like. I actually really like Buggy. I thought he was really, really fun to watch. But I totally get what you guys are saying. But I did like the fact that Nami tries to escape and kind of just looks out for herself. But when she leaves, she sees how devastated the town was. And she was also like just stopped in her tracks. And we get to learn on later why that is because she's experienced something similar in her life. And then she gets dragged back in, and we get to see a little bit more of the fight, which I think is really interesting. Uh, but one thing that I really like is that after the fight, we see Nami takes Straw Hat's hat and literally fixes it for him, which I thought was a very sweet moment. Ski, you want any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was kind of sad at this moment actually because this is actually one of my favorite mementos is when Buggy takes his knives and cuts through Luffy's hat, and it's torn in three pieces based off the knife. And yes, Naveen does fix it. Just a little foreshadow in the future. In the anime, you do still see the marks, and it's
Mm.
like 1,000 episodes after, and the marks are still there. And I think they did a really good job keeping that memento there, keeping that the idea of that the scratch the cut marks. But in this one, when Buggy did it, he cut it to the side, and you don't really see it. And yes, Nami did fix it, but it just didn't feel the same way for me.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about it that way. Jazz, what
Oh,
about
we
you?
notice the details. We notice all the details. You know, I don't think they could have actually butchered it completely because if they did, nobody would have believed that Nami could have prepared it so easily. So this is another one of those artistic liberties they took. Skeeb, you're absolutely right. It did not hit as hard as it did in the anime, but reality, unfortunately, is not anime, and so they had to do what they had to do.
And the thing I miss a lot about the versus the live action is that everyone is a crybaby. Like you, they're crying and everyone's consoling them, and I think that that's part of the humor as well. And they kind of lack that, but it's okay. I get it. It's a very serious series. They're trying to like make it more humanistic, and I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, yeah. No, very, very cool. And I really enjoy the fact that like we kind of don't figure out Nami at this point because she has the heart to fix his hat, but she also the kind of person that would just leave him high and dry, right? So we're kind of just like don't know who Nami is at the moment, and we get to see a little bit more of that in the next episode. We get to see a lot of it in the very last episode, and it's really really cool. And I believe this episode ends with Arlong showing up to in front of Buggy. And that's something that I was really surprised about because Arlong doesn't show up until the very end. And bringing him this early was a surprise. It looked like they switched him out with some characters. Uh, but it was very very interesting to see, and we also I believe there is a little bit of reference to Mihawk, uh where Garp's on the phone, so we're going to see a few characters a lot more earlier than we expect. What were your thoughts about seeing these characters so early on in the series, Skeep?
Yeah, so it's the fact that Bucky is kind of like in cahoots with Arlong. I don't think that was in the anime, but it kind of pushes the story a little bit forward because you're like, oh, who is this guy? What is this thing? And you have to realize that later on we'll learn that these guys are fishmen. And so I think they did a really good job with their prosthetics because all the fishmen have prosthetics, and they didn't want to do the whole CGI route. And I
Yeah.
think it makes it look more, cooler, better. It's just better that way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Arlong is also nasty and evil, and I'm like, and the fishmen are kind of like bigger, stronger, and lengthier, which I understand they can't really like immaculate that in the live action, but I mean they're doing their best. And when I first saw the first fisherman that came in and just like knocked out Buggy, I was like, yo, they're killing it with the whole like look of it.
Yeah. I am not only really impressed with the Fishman's costumes and the look of it, but their storyline. I don't remember their storyline being so deep, and I think we'll get into that in the next episode. But they really fleshed out why the Fishmen have a hatred for humans in this show, more so than in the anime, at least from the parts that
Well,
I've watched.
yeah, because I believe it's around episode 600 where you reach the Fisherman Island arc,
Oh
and that's where they
damn!
explain a lot of this. So they
Okay,
are
okay,
taking some liberties of bringing the story elements earlier, but you know what? That's fine because it was these elements that really make me appreciate One Piece for what it is, right? People think
yeah,
it's a show about like, oh, it's a kid show about a rubber pirate. No. We get into the philosophies of life. We get into slavery. We get into like the heartache of losing family members. We get into genocide. We get into like all sorts of really heavy topics. And seeing the live action bring it in earlier just makes me very happy.
yeah. I'm really glad that they brought it in earlier because it gives people who may not have given this show a fair chance, a little bit of like, oh wow, this show has some really serious topic. Like it has an enemy who you're like, you know what, man, he kind of spitting facts right now.
Oh no, 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 straight up. Arlong's spitting facts. Like I was like, I like what he's saying. He's
I
kind of
was
right here.
it's like a Killmonger vibes, right? Like a little bit like, all right,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
maybe. So we'll see. All right, that's all we have for episode 2. Did I miss anything, guys? Is there anything else that happens in episode 2?
I think that's all of it, but do not quote me on that.
All right, I think that's all we have for episode 2. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back earlier next week. We'll do episode 3 and 4, and then next Saturday we'll do 5 and 6, and then again we'll finish it up at the very end. We could probably only do 2 episodes a night, but this was great, man. Skeeb, thank you so much for joining us, man. Skeeb, you are definitely our straw hat packy. We love you.
Thank
Mhm.
you so much for having me, and looking forward to the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, no problem. And Jazz, welcome back, man. We missed you, god damn it.
I'm back.
All right. And then don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We're doing a special episode about my trip to ISNA, which in Chicago, we definitely got into some shenanigans and we got into some drama. And there was a lot of things that happened during our matrimonial events. And we're going to have a special guest on to kind of talk about it. We're going to have an anonymous guest on. So that means no camera for her.
Ooh.
Yeah. She wants to spill the dirt. So no cameras. And she's going to talk about all of the issues that go on during these events. So that's going to be an exciting episode. So tune in tomorrow. And until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.
Peace.
Later.